The action at La Hogue occurred during the pursuit of the French fleet after the Battle of Barfleur on the 19th of May Old Style, 1692. During the 9 Years' War, the pursuing English fleet, under the command of Admiral of the Fleet Edward Russell, 1st Earl of Orford, destroyed a number of French ships that had been beached near the port of St. Vaast La Hogue. Background: Tourville's fleet of badly damaged ships was swept by wind and tied down the coast of the Cotentin Peninsula, pursued by an English fleet under Russell. 3 of the most badly damaged ships were beached at Cherbourg, where they were attacked and destroyed by an English squadron under Vice Admiral of the Red Sir Ralph de Laval. The remaining 10 French ships, with Tourville and 4 of his flag officers, were swept down the coast, to be beached on the evening of the 21st of May outside the small port of St. Vaast La Hogue. Action. Situation: the 21st of May 1692. This was the place where the French had assembled an army, under the command of James II, and fleet of transports, for the invasion of England. Tourville's force joined 2 of the ships that had retired from the battle with Nesmond, which had been beached at La Hogue the day before. The ships were put ashore in 2 groups on the wide beaches on either side of the town. On the north beach, between the town and the small tidal island of Tatty-Ho, lay Ambitieux 96 guns, Merville 90, Foudroyant 84, and Magnifique 86. With them was the smaller St. Philippe 84, and, further out on the shore of Tatty-Ho, the Terrible 80. These ships were covered by shore batteries at the Fort d'Isla, on Tatty-Ho, and on platforms set up by the army on the north shore. On the south beach, under the eyes of James and his army at Morsellines, were the Bourbon 68, and St. Louis 64, from Nesmond's division, and Fear 80. Tonnant 80, Gaillard 68, and Fort 60, which came in with Tourville. These were covered by the 68 guns of Fort St. Vaast, and artillery on gun platforms along the shore. Also, in a small harbour known as the Port of La Hogue, which was behind the town of St. Vaast and under the guns of the fort, was the fleet of transports prepared for the invasion. The fleet was also protected by a fleet of 200 boats, and 3 oared galleys mounting 12 guns each. Though an offer by James to station troops on the ships to guard against boarding was not taken up. Preparations: the 22nd of May the English fleet, under Russell, started to arrive on the evening of the 21st of May. The rest of the fleet joined during the night and over the next 2 days. Russell immediately organized an inshore squadron under the Rear Admiral of the Red, Sir Cloudesley Shovel, to attack the French positions. But Shovel later collapsed from wounds received at Barfleur, and had to be replaced by Rear Admiral George Rooke, while the waters around St. Vaast and La Hogue had to be sounded, which took up most of the 22nd. So the assault did not start until the following day. Russell also used the 22nd to organize the 3rd and 4th rates of his command to form a blockade line close inshore, while the bigger 1st and 2nd rates were set to organize boats and boarding crews. Danby was keen to take part in the action, and appealed first to Shovel, and later to Rooke, to do so. In the assault he was given command of the boat parties that went close inshore. First action: the 23rd of May at 6 a.m. on the 23, the ships of the inshore squadron were ordered to attack the ships on the north beach. After a preliminary bombardment the boats were dispatched, and about 8:30 a.m. one of the fire ships grappled the Terrible, which was in a more exposed position. Finding her deserted, the fire ship captain refrained from igniting his ship, but boarded Terrible and started fires with what material was to hand. For this he was much commended in saving his charge for a better occasion. Meanwhile the boats closed with the other ships. They were accompanied by another fireship, which drew the fire from the French batteries. The supporting ships counted sweeping the French gun platforms, which were too exposed to continue. One boat, from the Eagle, grounded on the shore, and was attacked by French cavalry, in a highly unusual encounter. One of the troopers was pulled down by a sailor using a boat hook, before the boat was refloated. Resistance melted away as the attack was pressed, and the English sailors were able to board and fire the remaining great ships. Second action, the 24th of May. The second action opened at 5 a.m. on the 24th when Hogue again sent in his boats to attack the 6 great ships on the South Beach. Supported by gunfire from Deptford and Crown, and with close support from Charles and Greyhound, both under oars, the English sailors were able to board and fire all 6 ships. The French seamen, and the troops ashore, were demoralized by this point, and had abandoned the ships with little resistance in the face of the determined English assault. This episode was seen by James II, who had been watching from his camp at Marceline. He was moved to remark, with the lack of tact for which he was notorious, "Only my English tars could have done such a deed." Third action, the 24th of May. Hogue now saw an opportunity to follow up the success with an attack, at high water, on the transports in Hogue harbour. The boats, led by Hogue, and with 2 fire ships in tow, entered the harbour on the flooding tide, despite gunfire from both the fort and the ships. Both fire ships grounded in the shallows below the fort, and had to be burned without result. But a number of ships in the harbour were boarded and set alight, mostly transports, but also a 4th or 5th-rate warship and a hulk. Several other of the transports were captured, and carried away when the boats retreated on the ebb, but most of the transports were too far up the harbour to be boarded, and escaped serious damage. Conclusion. This marked the end of the action, which had been a complete success for the Allied fleet. 12 French ships of the line and a number of smaller ships had been destroyed, with minimal English casualties. The action also dashed any hope that James or Louis might have had to mount an invasion that year. Ships. English. Perhaps 30 ships of the line, of which the inshore squadron. 14 ships of the line plus auxiliaries: Eagle 70, Chester 50, Greenwich 54, Swift, Shore 70, Kent 70, Oxford 54, Cambridge 70, Deptford 50, Woolwich 54, Crown 50, Dreadnought 64, Stirling Castle 70, Warspite 70, Berwick 70, Resolution 70. French. 12 ships of the line, plus auxiliaries.